It is with great pleasure that I announce to you that Straw Harvest is now available for Farm Sim 25. You can find it available for download over at the Giants Mod Hub or the in-game downloadable content menu, and it is available free of charge. Now, Straw Harvest has been around for quite a while. In fact, this makes the 4th game version that Straw Harvest has been available. It was first released in Farm Sim 17 as the first and quite possibly last third-party DLC for Farm Sim. It was not available for sale at the Giants eShop, wasn't available for sale on Steam, and it wasn't available for consoles at all. It was available only through a particular website run by Creative Mesh, and the cost, it's a little hard for me to remember that far back, but I think it was around $20. So therefore, it was only PC players that got to enjoy this pack. In Farm Sim 19, it came to all platforms free of charge, and that is how it's been available ever since, and that is how it's available now for Farm Sim 25. Now, we know that players come, players go, and if you're new to Farm Sim and maybe you've never used Straw Harvest, you might ask yourself, well, what is Straw Harvest? Well, Straw Harvest is a collection of implements, it's a collection of equipment, it's a collection of consumables, and it's a collection of structures. And it's all about providing additional gameplay options for, as the name may imply, straw, but also hay. So, for example, way back in Farm Sim 17, production wasn't a thing without mods, and it was only available for PC. This brought a new way of working straw, and it brought the ability to basically make pellets out of straw and hay, and then we could palletize those pellets in our pallet hall, which is what we're looking at here. So this was basically a little factory that was available in Farm Sim 17, became available for Farm Sim 19. The only factory really available for Farm Sim 19, because we didn't get production as a standard feature until Farm Sim 22. So maybe it's a little less revolutionary in the modern Farm Sim than it was back in FS 17 and 19, but it is still an interesting pack that does have some unique gameplay aspects to it. For example, we now have the Premos 5000, or that's part of the pack. The Premos 5000 is a pellet manufacturing piece of machinery. It will compress your hay and straw and form little pellets out of these molds, and then you'll have those, and then you can take this further and deposit them in your palletizing factory back there and make pallets of pellets. You can use this in the field and make pellets right out of the field, or you can attach this bale conveyor and use it for square bales in order to shred those bales and process them again either outside or in the pellet hall. In addition, Straw Harvest included 3 bale grabs, and we have those bale grabs here in 3 different sizes. This one is going to be for front loader, wheel loader, and telehandler. This one's going to be for telehandler and wheel loader, and then the big option is going to be wheel loader alone. So this provided a new way of picking up bales off the field. We didn't really have that much in the way of auto-loading trailers because the Anderson DLC, well, that came to us in FS 19. And that included the bale trailers that we know and love, at least some of us know and love, as far as collecting bales out of the field. Like the Anderson RBM 2000. And the Anderson DLC back in Farm Sim 19 included multiple trailers like this, which made picking up bales a lot easier again in the field. I kind of like picking these bales up with the bale grabs and then using them on a flatbed trailer to transport them around. It gives you kind of a bit more of a manual process, but again, it's not going to be for everyone. Also, we had the ability to use consumables. Now, on PC, we did have, for a little while, consumables before it became a standard thing in Farm Sim 25, but it wasn't necessarily available to everyone, and Straw Harvest brought consumables to our round baler and brought consumables to our square baler with respect to our net wrap and our twine. We also had the ability with the big baler to have this accumulator on the back, and this would take 3 bales and deposit them behind the baler, again to make it easier for the bale grabs to pick up. Now, come Farm Sim 25, this is a little less of an impressive piece of machinery because we have this in the base game. Right? We have the 1290H DPVC in the base game, and we can configure it with the Bale Collect. Well, we also now get the 1290 HDP2 XC as the straw harvest baler option. And again, it comes with the Bale Collect add-on. But the big aspect of straw harvest is going to be the pelletizer. It's going to require molasses and water in order to compress and keep those pellets compressed. We also have a burning plant in order to burn straw pellets. That way we can get a little bit of money from our straw pellets. We have a sell point that is available with this mod. So if you don't have the ability to sell these pellets, you can put these down. That's basically what they look like. We have our straw pellets and we have our hay pellets there. And then we have different variants of the haul. So we looked inside the palletizer haul that takes and makes pallets of pellets. We also have a bale storage haul. This is going to be able to hold 1,000 bales or pallets. We have a building here that does not have the palletizing piece of equipment, but it does have the crane, and it does have some storage bunks, and we can put loose material in here. We can use the crane to pick those up and move things around. I'm not the best with the crane, so I'm not really going to demonstrate it all that much, but we just would come over here and we jump into the crane and make use of it. And then we have the plain version of the haul that we can just use for storing equipment. Now, something you may have noticed is we can now also change the siding color of the haul, and in fact our palletizing haul also has solar panels added to the top. So let's go ahead and take a look and figure out where all this stuff is in the shop and in build mode. Coming to mods and DLCs, we have the straw harvest pack, and we have our 3 bale grabs right here. The V grab, which is going to be the smallest of that, it's going to be $4,500. We can configure it with front loader, telehandler, or wheel loader configuration. And of course, we have our options for colors. We have the B50 AR03, $6,430. And this is going to be available for front loader, telehandler, and wheel loader options. This will be able to pick up 3 bales side by side. And again, we have our color options. And then the B50 AR05. This is going to be a wider variant, and it's going to be able to pick up 5 or 6. Not really sure if it's going to be able to pick up 6 or not. We'll try it a little bit later. It's only available in the wheel loader configuration. And again, we have our color options. We have the Compra V180 XC round baler, $81,700 to buy, 80 horsepower requirement. We have our choice of tires, and we have our choice of net wrap. We have KRONE Excellent Edge, or we have film binding, and then we can buy it without net wrap and use whatever we wanted. But again, remember, back in Farm Sim 17, 19, and to some degree 22, we didn't really have the option of having consumables on all the balers. Straw Harvest was kind of the avenue for that. We also had the big pack of 1290 HDP2XC. As I mentioned, this is going to be a square baler, 258 horsepower to operate this. It's going to be able to make all the different sizes of square bales. We get a standard configuration, or we can add the Bale Collect 1230 to it. And then we also have our option of doing the KRONE twine or buying it empty. The star of the show is going to be the Premos 5000, the pelletizing pelletizing machine. It's going to be able to make straw pellets and hay pellets. 350 horsepower to operate this thing, and it's going to be available in kind of 2 different configurations. This one is going to collect the straw or hay in the field and basically run them through our press here and make pellets. Or we can add the bale shredder as an add-on. Do note the arrow. We'll talk about how you orientate this to attach it later, but this will add on to the side of our Premos, and we'll be able to put square bales through the machine via this conveyor belt. Kind of a fun manual process. We have our twine, our net wrap, and our molasses. And the molasses is going to be used for our Premos 5000. That's all of the machinery that is a part of this pack. If we come into build mode, we go to sheds. This is where we're going to find the standard straw harvest haul. This is going to be the empty haul like we had right here. It's going to be available for storage of anything. We do have the ability to rotate this 360 degrees on center. And all of these buildings are going to have the ability to be customized. So we can go into F, we can add solar panels, and we can change the color of the siding to whatever we want. If we toggle over to silos, that's where we're going to find two more variants of this shed. First one's going to be where we can store hay and straw pellets and use the crane. Now this one is going to only rotate every 90 degrees because we do have those bunks in the building that are going to have collisions on them. So we're going to be able to dump loose product in there. And as such, it's only going to rotate 90 degrees. But again, we have our customization options as well. Then we have the bale storage for $175,000. This one's 360 degrees rotatable. It's going to be storage again for 1,000 bales or pallets, I should say. And again, it is going to be customizable. If we come down here to factories, this is where we are going to find our pelletizing haul. $350,000 to buy. This one, once again, is only going to be rotating 90 degrees. And that, again, is because we have those bunks in the building that do have collisions. We can customize this as well, as I've already done with respect to solar panels, and we can add different colored siding. We also have the pellet heat plant. This is going to accept straw pellets or wood chips, and it's going to burn those. We can rotate that 360 degrees. And if we come over here to selling points, that's where we're going to find our pellet selling placeable. $500 to put this down, and we're going to sell hay and straw pellets with this. Now, we also have the ability of using hay pellets in our animal buildings. So we can substitute hay pellets for hay. So for example, instead of feeding hay to our cows, we can feed hay pellets directly. We can use hay pellets for our horses and hay pellets for our sheep as well. Now, something that we're going to check out a little bit later on in this video is if we get full credit for the hay that we put in these animal pens. Because if you think about it, when you make a pellet, you're taking loose material and you're squeezing it and you're compressing it. So 1,000 liters of hay does not make 1,000 liters of pellets. If memory serves me, it was about a 4 or 5 to 1 ratio. So 4,000 or 5,000 liters worth of hay, loose, would make 1,000 units worth of pellets. So if I added 1,000 units of pellets in my feed trough and only got 1,000 units of feed for it, I'm losing. I wanted to see if in FarmSim 25, if that expands out such that 1,000 units of hay pellets in equates out to the equivalent of loose pellets or loose material that it took to make those 1,000 liters worth of pellets. Well, now that we've run through kind of the overview of what all this stuff is, let's take a look at how all this stuff works. And to that end, I've got a field of straw just laying down here. I don't have a field of hay. What we're going to demonstrate with respect to the straw is going to be the same with respect to our hay. Let's start out looking at the KRONE round baler. And I've already got this full of wrap, so we don't have to worry about that. And you can see in the upper left corner, we have the ability to do 170 or 125 centimeter 150 centimeter or 180 centimeter round bales. Let's just set that to 150. We can obviously lower our header and turn it on. Do have some nice animations on the baler itself. And we're just going to run it through its paces. And you'll see as the bale builds in the bale chamber, kind of our belts and everything raise up. And then when we get full, we're going to unload. And of course, we can turn on the ability to auto unload. Now, I guess I should kind of prefix that or suffix it, whatever works, in that based on FS25 standards. So again, as I mentioned earlier, the story was different in FS17 and different in FS19 as well, because we didn't have consumables. And a lot of these animations that we have nowadays, we didn't have in that machinery back then. So here we have our big baler, and we're going to unfold the accumulator. See what it does is it pulls it in, makes it nice and tight, unfolds the sides. We're going to turn it on, lower it down, and we do have the ability to hit N to open the cover, to just show the amount of twine that is in the machinery. And we can see lots of cool animations going on already here in the machine. We also have the ability to make 220 centimeter bales, 240 and 180. So I'm just going to make the middle size bale just to get this done a little bit quicker. And as we make our bales, we've seen this with respect to the base game accumulator, right? The bale's going to come out to shoot. It's going to be accumulated into 3 bales, and then we're going to have the option of either doing manual dump or enabling auto dump in order to dump those bales on the ground. So here we have bale 1 almost ready to come out. I think it's going to be pushed to the right. I'm remembering. There we go. The next one's going to come out. It's going to be pushed to the left. And then the center bale. And right now I do not have auto drop turned on, I believe. There we go. Looks like it just drops them by itself. We don't have to turn on auto drop. Now let's demonstrate the Premos. First thing I want to do is I want to fill it with molasses and water. So molasses is going to be on one side, water is on the other. And quite frankly, I couldn't remember which side was which. Let's go with the left side for water. There we go. And then the right side is going to be for our molasses. You know, we need to be back here kind of where our tires are for the molasses to load in. And we can operate it this way in the field. I guess I'll just go ahead and demonstrate that. And then I'll demonstrate hooking up the bale shredder. So we're going to unfold this. Lower it down. Turn it on. Now the press is really, really slow. In fact, it's super slow if you don't have enough horsepower. And that's what we had with the other tractor. So let's swap this out. This tractor has more than enough horsepower. But you can see we're not running through the field very quick. And as we are picking up product, we are making little pellets. And those pellets are being deposited in the back. So using this in the field, well, in my opinion, there's a better way to use this. And that is to use it stationary with the bale shredder. So let me show you how that is all going to work out. We're going to want to come up to the bale shredder. Remember, it has an arrow on it. We're going to come up to it on the right side. So we're going to offer the right side of this pellet press to the side of the bale shredder with the arrow. So like this. We're going to hit Q. And that whole front section goes away. And now we have a stationary piece of machinery that's going to be able to process bales. It's kind of neat. So we're going to unfold this. X. And from here we have some mouse options. We can raise and lower the wheels on that just so it sits nice and level. We can adjust the legs at the end of the conveyor belt again so it's sitting nice and level. And we can extend the bale out a little bit further so we get a little bit more on there if you want to load more bales up at a time. We're going to hit B. We're going to turn this whole thing on and we're going to jump out of the tractor. So you can see everything is running. We're out of the tractor. And you see slowly but surely the conveyor belt is moving. So in order to make sure the tractor is running when you're out of it, you need to make sure that automatic engine start is disabled. We're going to find that in the settings under game settings. Automatic engine start. The default is set to on. If it is set to on when you get out of the tractor, it turns off by itself. We're going to need to turn that off because we want to make sure the tractor continues to run. Now, conveniently, we have a bale right here. So I'm going to use this skid steer to load this bale on the conveyor belt. We're going to want to load it straight as we can. You can see we have 8,250 liters worth of straw in this bale. We also have 1,900 and 37 liters worth of pellets. So let's see how many pellets we have after we've consumed those 8,250 liters worth of straw. And now it's basically being consumed, it's being shredded. There are pellets. And of course, if we were doing this kind of at scale, we would continue loading more and more bales on our conveyor belt. And now we've gone through the entirety of that bale, and we now have 3,980. So we gained just over 2,000 liters worth of pellets. 2,043 to be exact. So if we do the math, we find out that basically we have a 4-to-1 ratio of 4,000 liters worth of straw to make approximately 1,000 liters worth of pellets. Okay, so remember, 4-to-1 ratio. Now, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about using these bale grabs. Because for me, this is kind of like getting a little bit of a zen moment when I start using these grabs. So our small grab is obviously designed for picking up bales that are vertical. We could also use it to grab round bales, but there's another way that you can make use of this, and that is to pick up bales that are laying on the ground like this. I'll grab one. Now we're going to spike 2. Now we're going to spike all 3. And I can hit Y to grab the bales. Claws come in. Bales are now grabbed. They are going nowhere. And then we could go and stack these over here by our shredder. We could stack them in the shredder, or we could stack them on a trailer. Really, the choice is yours. Z. And then back it out. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our telehandler. Probably the ideal setup for collecting bales off of the bale collector out of the field. Because we can just drive up to them, grab the bales, and drive off. 3 bales wide. And we hit Y. Claws go in. Come up. And again, if we wanted to, we could put these over here by our bale shredder. Or, as I'll demonstrate, we can quickly load these onto a flatbed trailer, and it can make loading flatbed trailers super quick. Z to drop, and off you go. So now you grab yourself another load, and soon you'll have a full trailer load of bales. Okay, so let's say now that we have a fully loaded bale trailer, we're going to come back to the farmyard, and we've got our big bale grapple with our wheel loader. Well, we can now come over here, unfold it, and see how many of these bales we can grab. Looks like we're going to be able to get 5. Went ahead and loaded another set of 3 onto our trailer. We're going to come up to it, right? And we're going to hit Y. And now we've grabbed 5 bales at a time. And we can move these over to our bale storage if we wanted. Or really whatever, however we want to use. But you kind of get the point. Now, the last thing I really want to demonstrate with this particular pack is going to be using the pellet press inside the pellet hull in order to basically make pallets of pellets. So to do that, we need to fold up our conveyor belt. We're going to do that with X. And we're going to position this. We need to first hit O to bring our output belt. And of course, that's how you would unload this if you were in the field. Now we need to put it over here where these hashes are. Get this lined up. Okay, and we had to toggle over to our press, and then we had the right click mouse option. Now we're going to unfold our belt. Now while it's unfolding, since we already had pellets in here, right, we see pellets are going in the bottom, pellets are going up into our conveyor belt. They're being bagged into little individual bags. This thing I could watch literally all day. Rotates 3 bags, and then the pusher. Now this one loads 2 more. And then it's going to push another layer onto palletizer, make another layer, and just keep repeating this process. So now that we have our bale shredder, conveyor belt unloaded, we have our output pipe, we're going to turn this thing on. The only thing that would be better is if we had some way of venting the exhaust out the building. Let's go ahead and load up some bales. Remember, we can do this with pellets of straw, or we can do the straw or hay, right? We can make pellets of straw, pellets of hay. Okay, that's 1. And this machine is pretty neat because it also has this, which is designed to cut and collect the strings as the bale runs through it. Because obviously you don't want your strings going through our press. Now we have 2 on there. And we can just keep this process up all day long. We actually already have a pallet of pellets. 2,000 pellets. So that's 8,000 or so liters worth of straw. Let's come back in here and just watch this thing a little bit. Sorry about the jerkiness. Any rate, right? So we build out a layer and they alternate. So here we have 2 horizontal, and then it's going to grab and rotate 3 bags. 1, 2, and 3. And then it's going to push that onto the make another layer. This time it's going to alternate. It's going to rotate 3 bales first. Then it's going to let 2 bales pass. And it's going to keep building that up until we have a whole pallet. Once we have a whole pallet, it is going to then shrink wrap it and move it over to our loading area. We can have a total of 3 pallets in the loading area waiting to be collected at one time. This should be the last layer. Yep. There, it's moving the pallet. And shrink wrap. Shut that down. We've got some nice informational menu here. The upper corner, since we made 91 bags, 2 pallets, we have supply for 8 minutes and 8 seconds left. As I mentioned, we can use these here in our burner. I don't know if it'll take a whole pallet. It may only take loose. Or we could sell them here. And we got just under $2,000. So let's go ahead and take a look at our prices. Because, of course, we have straw. And now we have straw pellets. We have hay and hay pellets. So with respect to our straw, we can sell straw pellets at our sell point for $979 per 1,000 liters. And we can see where that is here with respect to high and low. Versus our straw. Remember, we have 4-to-1. So 2,000 liters worth of straw pellets is 8,000 liters worth of straw. And then we have, again, our hay and our hay pellets. So our hay, 155, 160, and our hay pellets, sell point, 1,264. So it's definitely a way of making more money out of hay and straw than you can just by selling it loose. It's a little bit of a scientific test. We have 1,000 liters of hay pellets in our trailer at the Riverbend Springs starting farm where we have our cows. And let's go ahead and unload and see how much hay do we now have in our animal menu. So we now have 4,000 liters worth of hay. So 4 to 1. We can feed our pellets. We have a nice pellet texture that also comes up here. And we get our full volume of hay back, as opposed to it simply being 1,000 liters. Now you can also use your pellets with respect to making TMR. And we should expect to see the same 4 to 1 expansion from pellets to loose material, if you will. So it could be a way of having less hay around by making them into pellets. But your experience may vary with respect to using hay pellet pallets, because I tried a pellet pallet off camera here and it didn't take it. So again, your mileage may vary with respect to using pellet pallets for anything other than sale. So guys, I hope that has brought you some information about straw harvest. How useful is it, what it is, and how to use it. If you've used straw harvest in the past, I'd love to know down in the comments below if you plan on picking the pack up and continue to make use of it in your overall gameplay in Farm Sim 25. If you're new to the game, what do you think of straw harvest, and what do you think of what it adds to the game overall? Until next time, happy farming.